Hi everybody, it's Papa Kenny from Papa Kenny's Workshop. You all know the truck. If you don't, this is Rattle Can. This is my 2003 Chevy S10 that originally had a 4-cylinder, and then I did an LS swap over here myself in my driveway. I put a LS 6-liter, the LQ9, it's got a cam in it, and I get a lot of questions about how I got that engine to fit in there, but that'll be a whole nother long video. Second most questions I get, because it's got a Ford Explorer rear end, 8.8, it's got 373 gears with limited slip, and how I got the rear end to fit the truck. Alright, and I'm speaking only on the two-wheel drive truck. My truck is a two-wheel drive. As you can see, I'm running the stock tires and wheels, 16-inch ZQ8 suspension, ZQ8 tires and wheels. And the stance is perfect. Now, the rear tires stick out a ½ an inch more than the front. Truck tracks perfectly. As you can see, underneath there, it looks, get on there a little bit closer, but anyhow, how I got it to fit. Now, like I said, I'm running 373 gears. However, I have a vibration in this rear end, and I will get back to it, okay? So the other day, I went to my local pick and pull. I was looking for tires for old Grumpy over here. Well, looking for tires, I ran across a 2004 Ford Explorer Sport Track that had the 8.8. First thing I did was go over the door tag to see what the gear ratio was and to make sure it was limited slip. And lo and behold, 410 gears, limited slip. Now, these things, limited slip rear ends, these 8.8s are getting harder and harder to find up here in the Northeast. I don't know why. It's well, around here in Rhode Island anyway. Especially 410 gears. If you can find them, most of them have the 373 gears, but the preferred one is the 410 gears. Anyhow, in the back of my head, with the vibration that I have, I'm almost positive I got the pinion angle wrong, okay? And the pinion angle is the angle of your drive shaft from the your transmission housing down to your universal on the rear end. If you get that wrong, you'll get a vibration. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened. My pinion angle's wrong. And the only way for me to correct that is to pull the rear end out, cut the leaf spring purchase off, set my pinion angle to where it's supposed to be, and re-weld them on. However, if I'm going to do that, I prefer to have 410 gears. So that's the only reason why I bought the 8.8 this here. If I'm going to go through all that work of changing the spring purchase here, I'm just going to put the gear ratio I want. Anyhow, I pulled the cover off. First thing I checked, it's a ring and pinion. Now, it's not perfect, but it's in great shape. It's actually better than what's in there now. However, you got your spider gears in here. There's 4 spider gears, and these things are chewed up. They're chewed up, but they did not get into the ring and pinion. There's no chips in it. All that stuff still looks good. When I pull the cover and all the grease came out, all the chips came out. So, anyhow, I'm going to have to replace the spider gears at some point. Technically, when I get to it, I can pull the spider gears out of the 373. They're the same. I can put that whole basket in here if I want. Or, it's like $150 for new spider gears and clutch backs. But we'll get to that when I get that. Now, how I got it to fit the truck. Let's get back on track. Now, technically, they say you could take this right out of a Ford Explorer and get it to fit the two-wheel drive S10s. Now, you will have to push your leaf springs way out to meet the spring purchase and get longer U-bolts. Either way, if you're using one of these, you're going to need a conversion U-joint that goes from the Chevy drive shaft to the Ford yoke. And I have that written down somewhere. And you're going to need a conversion fitting that goes from the Ford. It's metric to standard SAE. The Chevy brake line to the Ford brake line. It's a little fitting. It's very cheap. Alright, so, like I said, technically you can sit that in there. However, the Ford Explorer axle tube, the driver's side, is 3 inches longer than the passenger side. So when you put it in there, the driver's side of your truck, the wheel's going to stick out way further than the passenger side. Now, I didn't want that wanky look, and I wanted to run the stock tires and wheels, so a little bit more involved. Alright, so here's my plan, and I'm going to video this whole process, right? I'll end up stripping all this bracketry off of here. I'll pull this center chuck out, 4 bolts. I'll end up putting new bearings in it, whatever, later on. And if you look from here from the housing, axle tube housing, to where all your brake components bolt up, the driver's side is 20 inches long. On the passenger side, from here to there, is 17 inches. So, I'm going to end up, like I said, cutting all this bracketry off of here, and I'm going to be taking 2 7/8 inches out of the driver's side, re-welding the tube back over to there. Now, which leads to another problem. What do you do for an axle? Well, you need another short axle, because now that you're shorting the long side to match the short side, you got to get another short side axle. So it cost me $260 and change for this complete rear end and a short axle. Now, these are 31 spline. You can get any short axle out of a Ford Explorer 8.8 as long as it's 31 spline, and it doesn't have to be limited slip. It could be an open differential. All right, as long as it's got 31 spline, the short shaft will fit. Anyhow, if I'm going to go through all the aggravation of taking the rear end out to fix my vibration, because I got my pinion angle wrong, I'm going to go with the 410 gears. These are great all around. The 373 gears are great all around. The 410s give you a little bit more, I guess, off the line power. Not that I need it, but if I can have it, I'm going to have it. And like I said, I plan on videoing this whole process, start to finish. A couple other things you're going to have to do. Like I said, you could put in there and run the Ford axles, and 4 tires and wheels, but I want the extra step. I got one of these lug nut stud finder, right? And here's how I got the Chevy bolt pattern, right? So, what is this? 4.5 inch, I think the Fords are, yeah. So, this slides over there. The Chevy bolt pattern is 4 3/4. Is what you do is you mark your axles. And I did this all right here, folks. And you drill those out. I got a drill press, I got a welder, I got a compressor. I did all that stuff right here. As well as I drilled out the Ford rotors to match the same thing, the Chevy pattern. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do that part again. That was very tedious. As a matter of fact, I don't even have this one perfect, but it's close enough that it worked. I had to tack weld a couple of the studs in there. Anyhow, I may take these to a machine shop. A buddy of mine has a machine shop to see what it costs me to have them drilled out, the axles and the rotors. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Like I said, as far as the Spider gears, I could technically take the ones out of the 373 because those are in great shape. That whole thing and bolted up in here, I don't know yet. But I prefer to probably keep that rear end all together in case I ever have a problem with the 410 or vice versa. So anyhow, I'm just gaggling now. Like I said, I got a lot of questions. That's the short version. I plan on videoing this whole process start to finish. Actually, next couple of days, I will be taking this truck up to my brother-in-law's driveway up the road. He's a nice big garage with cement floor and a lift. I'm getting too old to be laying on the ground over here. And we're going to start the process. We'll see what confirm that my vibrations, pinion angle. If not, we'll have to dig a little deeper. But anyhow, like I said, to correct it, I'm going to have to cut the spring purchase. I might as well put the rear end with the right gearing that I want. And just to add to it, some people say, oh, why don't you go with the Chevy 8, whatever it is, or the original Chevy rear end and put a true lock in it. These Ford 8.8 Explorers, been tried and true. They're bulletproof. You know, I don't know. Just your preference, I guess. Anyways, you got any questions? If I left anything out, you can leave them in the comments down below. If you know anybody that's doing a similar project and got questions, share the video. And like I said, keep an eye out for the next video because we'll be starting this project pretty soon. Even though I'm not in a rush, but we'll be starting it pretty soon. I appreciate you all watching. We'll see you on the next one.